Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the weekly comic book roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books as well as a few others, including this week's portion of the War of the Bounty Hunters. Now we're moving on to this week's Spider-Man books and this week's Batman books. As I said in the last video, the organization is going to be a little bit different this time around, this week. So yeah. Anyway, kicking things off, we've got Black Cat number 8. Where we left off in the Black Cat, she, with the help of Odessa Drake and the Thieves Guild of New York, Black Cat had saved Manhattan from the Guild of the Saint, and had also doomed Black Fox to death. Black Fox, of course, being Black Cat's mentor. So, it's a new story. She's dealing with things, and maybe not the healthiest of manners. There's been a lot of bottles of champagne drank through, presumably by herself. But new job. So she breaks into a warehouse. Bruno and Doc are both ready to go. She puts some... there's a blackout, then the roof of the warehouse is blown. She goes in. There's a storage container with various biohazard and radioactive hazard symbols on it, which Black Cat breaks into. Apparently, the lock that is on it, it's not custom. In fact, she has every lock from that series, and well, she often takes them apart, puts them back together while watching reruns of The Saint. Of course, that's not the only security measure. There's a shotgun attached to the door, and yeah. Of course, whose storage container was this? Nick Fury's. But Nick explains, basically, that this has been, the whole thing is set up to keep people from, generations from now, from, well, opening it up. Much as similar things are done with nuclear waste and whatnot. However, yeah, Felicia doesn't care. She wants what's in it. So, she seals the container, and Fury gives chase. But eventually she knocks him out of the container. And Fury implies that in that container is a person, not a thing. But Black Cat manages to ditch Fury in the East River, and well, a sarcophagus is opened up by Bruno and Doc, and inside is none other than Star, unconscious. And that is where the issue ends. So, very interesting start to Infinity Score. My one criticism would be I really wish that this had come out after all of the Infinite Destinies annuals had come out. Though the one with the Star has already come and gone, so. But still, it would have been nice to know, when did Nick Fury kidnap her? Presumably after his meetings with Nighthawk, but yeah. Anyway, meeting with Nighthawk. Moving on to our next book, we've got Symbiote SpiderMan Crossroads, number 1. So Symbiote SpiderMan miniseries, collection of miniseries have been exploring or telling untold tales of the waning days of the Black Costume Saga. So far, we've seen Spidey deal with all manner of things, such as Mysterio, getting a sliver of the black costume itself. Um, Hobgoblin getting mystical power. Peter learning about the King in Black well before King in Black began. And now, the Crossroads. So the issue begins in the bar with no name. Moondark the Magnificent, a magic-based villain, is having a drink, and in fact, he intends to split town soon because New York is just not the right place for a guy like him to be doing crime. Probably head to Vegas or maybe Reno, anywhere but New York. Too many superheroes. When a mysterious woman hires him for a job. Turns out, however, the president's going to be in town the next day, and Jonah and Robbie Robertson are outside to meet the president, and when Spider-Man shows up, we don't clearly see who the president's supposed to be, but Spidey takes him down, and it's revealed that it's not the president. It's actually the Chameleon, who's planning to poison everyone with a poison ring. But Spidey threatens the Kingpin, or the Chameleon. Tell me where the president actually is, or you die. Of course, Chameleon laughs it off, but Spidey says, "Hey, look down." Chameleon looks down and sees a laser pointing on him. And Spidey explains that, he's got doing his job alone. He's not saving the president alone. He's got a friend help him, a friend named Frank. Maybe Chameleon's heard of this guy, Frank. Goes by another name too. The Punisher. And so Chameleon spills the address, and then, but he's got, later on, Peter shows up at the Bugle with some pictures of everything, including but he gets a call he notices including presumably pictures of Jonas' mustache being crooked. But he notices that Black Cat's outside, and so turns out it wasn't the laser sight of a rifle pointing at coming on his chest, but rather a laser pointer being held by Black Cat. Apparently, though, Black Cat picked up some information and passed it along to Spider-Man. Someone's robbing a museum at a specific time and place, so Moondark goes to, rob the museum, the Viking display. Takes out a web double of Spider-Man, but Spidey manages to take him down, brings in the cops, but Moondark's mind control abilities, he doesn't need his eyes for those. And so Spidey has to deal with the cops while Moondark escapes. But as Moondark escapes, Black Cat catches him, but he creates this spectral cat to take on Black Cat, and goes after the artifact he's been hired to steal, a small stone. It does appear to have a mystical, protection around it, and Moondark's able to get rid of it. And Spidey and Black Cat go after Moondark, who's now wielding the stone and planning to use it. Apparently, it's one of the Norn stones. And so, however, the museum guard, who Moondark initially told to go play in traffic, returns, tasers Moondark, and Spidey takes the Norn stuff from him when the mysterious woman who hired Moondark arrived on the scene. Carnilla, the Norn Queen, and well, the enchantment that prevents her kind from using the stones is now removed thanks to Moondark, so, she'll just take it. But Spidey punches her, and she opens a portal, and so it sucks Spidey in. Before Spidey's completely sucked in, though, he does grab the Norn Stone with webbing and pull it in with him. And where this mystical portal takes Spidey? The Crossroads. And who should happen to also be the Crossroads at this point in Marvel history? Well, I know none other than the Jade Giant himself, the Incredible Hulk. And that is where the issue ends. Honestly, I love the Symbiote Spider-Man stories. It's fun reading stories set. It's fun, and they are written and drawn. They're written in such a manner so that it's still, you could read them in conjunction with the comics published at the time, and the only thing that might seem a little off is the artwork. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Detective Comics number 1040. Where we left off, after defeating Roland Worth and at least incapacitating Hugh Vile, Batman and his allies, Batman and Huntress, Huntress had been incapacitated by Vile, but Batman decided that what he was going to do was as Bruce Wayne, he would turn himself in. After all, when Worth attacked the GCP precinct, Bruce was a prisoner, so better to get that all taken care of out of the way ASAP rather than, have the GCPD hunting down Bruce Wayne for a couple of murders he didn't commit, while also going after Batman for, everything. So, Bruce turns himself in. Oracle calls the hospital, asks about Deb Donovan and Huntress. Their blood work has come back fine. Parasite's gone. But Huntress has left. And borrowed Deb's coat. So it turns out that a guy in the drunk tank with Bruce Wayne claims to know that Bruce is Batman. He tells him how he knows this. Used to work at a Chuck E. Cheese type place wearing one of the character suits. Batman and Joker burst in, going at it. Dude tries to escape, gets up on top of the building, and after a while he hears the footsteps. Realizes Batman's up there and figures, oh well, whatever kind of bat radar Batman's got, he surely knows I'm here. But he didn't. And Batman lifted his cowl. He must have had something in his eye. But lifted his cowl and got it out. But Bruce's brownstone is bombed, while Worth and Penguin meet at the shipyards, and turns out they were behind the bombing of Bruce Wayne's brownstone. Their first priority though, is taking out Batman because, well, Batman does seem to protect Bruce Wayne from quite a bit, after all. And Hugh Vile will survive, and in fact, the Penguin is making sure of this. And a group calling themselves the Jury. Penguin is now part of a group that refers to itself as the Jury. That's where our A story ends. Our B story, the quiet and unsung death of Kirk Langstrom. Apparently, Kirk Langstrom, the Man-Bat, has died. Batman wasn't too fond of Wonder Woman recruiting Man-Bat into Justice League Dark. And shortly after, and recently, Man-Bat returned to Gotham, shouting for his wife when Batman faced him. Since that's what this is all being here. That's what it's all been about getting your wife back. But there's something inside. And he explains what's truly going on to Batman. The creature that feeds on fear is stuck within him. He saw it while working with Dr. Fate. Apparently there's a gap in Langstrom's soul between Kirk Langstrom and Man-Bat, and that's where the creature got in. But creature is destroyed with Man-Bat's final sacrifice. And so Batman waits, knowing that they can't really talk about what led to Kirk's death. Because if no one knows of the creature, it can't feed on fear. If it's not feared, it can't feed on fear of it. And Batman tries to figure out what he's going to tell Francine Langstrom. Good issue. I kind of think that I had a very strange suspicion that the death of Man-Bat will definitely play a part in the upcoming Fear State story. And then mystical entity that feeds on fear, and we've got a story called Fear State coming up. Yeah. That seems a little too coincidental. But still, good issue. Both stories were good. It's interesting to learn that Batman didn't really... It's kind of jarring, actually, really, to see that, Batman thought so little of Kirk Langstrom, even after he had tried to, work on the side of good for a while. But yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Batman Secret Files, Huntress. Where we left off with Huntress, she'd apparently skipped out of the hospital with Deb Donovan's coat. So she arrives back at her apartment, tells her cat Doug about what happened. And how she tried to kill Batman, and how she stole Deb Donovan's coat and skipped out of the hospital. 20 blocks and a trench coat and a hospital gown later, she got home. However, she's now seeing things. She's seeing through the eyes of others who have been exposed to Vile and have not broken free of his influence. But so she decides she's going to go after their would-be victims. First, she rescues a young man on the docks. But this kind of becomes what she's doing, just tracking down the various people who've been exposed to Vile and hopefully helping so they can, so the parasite can be released from them as well. There's also a drive-in theater. Then an angry boyfriend. And she begins to think that Meanwhile, of course, others are for every one she takes down, though, there are still plenty that are loose, including. But does that mean I think that maybe Batman is also infected? And so she's going to have to take care of confirm that Batman isn't. That is where the issue ends. Solid issue. It's kind of nice to see Huntress getting acknowledged again. I guess. It felt like there was a really long period where she was kind of pushed to the side, way off to the side of when it came to DC's characters. The Bat family in particular, even with being in Birds of Prey, it still kind of felt like she was being sidelined quite a bit. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Harley Quinn #5. Where we left off with Harley, she had infiltrated. I say infiltrated. She'd been kind of sort of captured by Hugo Strange and his goons in an effort to get into his base. So we begin with her opinions on Hugo's past activities, dressing up like Batman and trying to be Batman. She has her thoughts on it, even asking, is it a sex thing? I mean, hey, not judging, but there are probably healthier outlets for that kind of frustration. And she does do what she does best and makes Hugo mad. But she explains that she has to go pee, so, a couple of the guards take her to the bathroom, and, well, she has a fake tooth, which she flushes, and then she makes her way out of her handcuffs, floods the toilet, and takes out the guards before rescuing Kevin, her assistant, as well as the rest of the clowns, with the help of Solomon Grundy. So they do manage to escape. Hugo is mad, and his supervisor is basically the person over him is not happy either. In Hugo's office, Harley's looking for various things, anything that might help, and apparently, for starters, she finds a collection of plushies of all the various denizens of Gotham City, and she takes the Grundy one. Some clown suits. Oh, that's right. She went for her bat. I forgot about that. She also finds that that Strange still has his bat suit, and she concludes that maybe his whole thing really is a sex thing after all. But she manages to knock Hugo on his ass with her bat, as well as some of the other guards, and they all manage to escape into the sewers with Grundy. And we've learned that the identity of the person above Hugo Strange's whole thing, well, the identity he now is claiming is Keepsake. So maybe it wasn't Hugo's office, but rather Keepsake's. Keepsake is armed with, among other things, an umbrella, the sword. It looks like he's got various items from various villains and heroes of Gotham, including one of Batman's capes. At least I think it's one of Batman's. And that is where the issue ends. Honestly, Harley's just been a consistently fun title, and he manages to stay fun. It's been managed to stay fun the entire time. I was a little surprised with the introduction of Keepsake, as it kind of felt like maybe I kind of expected that Simon Saint would actually be somewhat involved with what's going on with Safe Program, because he does seem to be the overarching villain when it comes to the goings on in Gotham at the moment. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Batman Reptilian #2. Where we left off, something was going after and grievously injuring Batman's rogues. In fact, some even thought it was Batman. And he had convinced one of his informants to infiltrate the Joker's organization. But the issue begins with Batman discovering Penguin barely hanging on. Apparently, Riddler's in a coma. But Batman gave the paramedics the wrong floor. And he takes a blood sample from Penguin and tries to figure out what all has happened. He studies apparently, it seems that whatever this creature is, it's not devouring people so much as it gets a taste, and then if it doesn't like it, it moves on. Which leads to Batman comparing them to a great white shark. I'll discuss the whole thing with Alfred, who makes his various jabs at Batman's ego. Volkov has gotten in with Joker's organization. Joker is moving around constantly. No capers being planned, but he's just keeping himself mobile so that to avoid running whatever's making its way through Gotham's underground, getting to him. But Volkov gives people who were present and who are working together, and who's working together. Tweedledum and Tweedledee are obviously working together. Ivy and Freeze are working together. Two-Face isn't working with anyone. And it's added that Hugo Strange, Killer Croc, Deadshot were all already there. Maybe also Killer Moth. Though Batman explains he never worries about Killer Moth. But he's decided to look into the whole thing with Ivy and Freeze working together, and the Batmobile's sensors reveal there's incoming. Some thugs go after the Batmobile, and so he hits him with a shock. And apparently, explain they weren't there for him. They were trying to get away from whatever's attacked Freeze and Ivy. And so Batman investigates. He finds Freeze dangling from the ceiling, as well as Ivy, and finds out that the two henchmen he picked up, they weren't present at the meet. They told him to get out of town. Various analysis is made. As Batman begins to try and make sure no one else is going after slaughtering his rogues. That is where the issue ends. Once again, I've kind of got the same issue with Reptilian that I had with issue 1, is that, I don't know, Batman by Garth Ennis feels cruel. There was kind of a degree of that on display in the last part of the Legends of the Dark Knight story that was being written by Darren Robertson, but not as pronounced. And there were it's an interesting story. It's just, like I said, Batman coming off as being cruel just doesn't. It feels wrong. The art's beautiful. Liam Sharp is knocking out of the goddamn park. But anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.